The branch doesn't fall clean. It tears first fibers splitting, a long internal crack that echoes too late for reaction. By the time Elliot turns, it's already coming down. Impact. Not a sharp pain at first. Just force. Weight. The air knocked out of him in a single, violent exhale as his body hits the soaked forest floor. Then, pain follows. White. Immediate. Bright enough to hollow him out from the inside. His leg is pinned. The branch lies heavy across his lower thigh, bark slick with rain, unmoving no matter how his hands press against it. His fingers slip. Mud coats his palms. He tries again, teeth clenched, breath shuddering through his chest. Nothing. The forest absorbs the sound of his struggle without response. Rain begins not sudden, but steady. Cold droplets threading through the canopy, tapping against leaves, against skin, against the fabric of his worn green shirt now darkening across his chest. The smell of wet pine thickens. Earth loosens beneath him. He inhales. Too fast. Forces himself to slow. In, out. The words barely leave his mouth. His head tips back against the ground. The sky above is a broken lattice of branches and dim light, already fading toward night. He'd meant to be back before dark. He'd meant to finish the chair. A sharp pulse of pain climbs his spine when he shifts his leg again. This time he doesn't try to suppress the sound. It leaves him low and strained, something closer to instinct than language. He stills. Listens. Nothing answers. No voices. No distant path traffic. No village noise drifting this far into the trees. Just rain. Just breath. Just the slow, creeping awareness that he is alone and not in the way he chose. His hand moves, searching blindly through wet leaves until his fingers curl into the handle of a broken branch. He wedges it beneath the fallen limb, tries leverage. Push. The wood lifts barely. An inch, maybe less. Hope flares too quickly. His grip slips. The branch drops. This time the pain is sharper. His vision flickers at the edges, narrowing, then widening again as his body fights to hold onto itself. Stay, he murmurs, though he isn't sure to what. The rain strengthens. Cold seeps through him in layer shirt, skin, deeper. Time loosens its shape. Minutes stretch. Or collapse. He can't tell. The forest shifts. Not in sound. In presence. Something changes. Subtle. Almost nothing. And yet. His body notices before his mind does. A stillness that presses in rather than pulls away. He turns his head. Through the blur of rain and shadow, movement separates itself from the dark. Low. Controlled. Not human. The shape resolves gradually. A wolf, but not like any he's seen at the edges of the village. This one doesn't vanish. It approaches. Silver gray fur darkened by rain. A darker line running the length of its spine. Amber eyes, steady. Watching him. Elliot's chest rises. Falls. He should feel fear now. The instinct that tightens the throat, that tells a body when it is no longer at the top of the food chain. It doesn't come. What comes instead is something quieter. Something that doesn't make sense. Relief. Close enough now that he can see the rise and fall of its ribcage. Close enough that he should feel threatened. Close enough that he doesn't. There's something in the way it looks at him. Not hunger. Not curiosity. Something aware. His vision dips again, edges dimming. Figures, he murmurs faintly, something almost like a tired smile ghosting at the corner of his mouth. If this is how it ends. The wolf steps closer. Its head lowers slightly, gaze never leaving his face. For a moment, just a moment, he feels seen. Not assessed. Not measured. Seen. His breathing falters. The cold deepens. His grip on the world loosens. His voice is barely more than breath now. Angel. The word slips out of him soft, unguarded, almost wondering. The wolf doesn't move. Doesn't recoil. Doesn't correct him. It just stands there, rain threading through its fur, watching him as his eyes close. And just before everything fades, it steps forward. Morning settles slowly over Grey Hollow, as if the village has learned not to rush anything that might break the quiet. Mist clings low between the cottages. Smoke lifts thinly from stone chimneys, carrying the scent of damp wood and last night's fire. The narrow paths are still soft from rain. Selene moves through it without disturbing much at all. Barefoot. Her steps make no sound on the packed earth, even where it should gravel, loose boards, the hollow plank outside the inside entrance that complains under everyone else's weight. It doesn't complain under hers. She moves along the back corridor, a basket of linens balanced against her hip, her pale cream dress brushing lightly against her knees. Her long chestnut hair is loosely gathered at her back, though strands have already escaped, falling in soft waves around her face. There's a faint white crescent just above her left eyebrow. Most people don't notice it. The ones who do don't ask. Room 7 is empty. She knows before she opens the door. Not because of the silence can lie. But because the scent has shifted. The air holds the ghost of people who were there, not the presence of those who are. She strips the bed in one smooth motion. Efficient. Controlled. Never rushed. In the hallway, footsteps approach. Heavy. Uneven. Morning, he says. Selene nods once. Morning. He lingers. They often do. There's something about her that invites a second look and punishes it at the same time. Not beauty alone, though, there is that. Something in the stillness she carries. Something that doesn't quite settle into ordinary. You're new, he says. I won't be here long. It comes too easily to be a decision. Most people say they're passing through. Doesn't mean they leave. Selene smooths the last corner of the bed. I do. She steps past him before he can ask anything else. The conversation ends because she ends it. It always does. By midday, the mist has lifted. A handful of cottages scattered along the curve of a shallow valley. A general store with a warped porch. The inn sitting slightly higher than the rest. Beyond it all, the forest rises dense, dark, patient. Selene keeps to the edges. Always the edges. The small structure she occupies sits just beyond the last visible house, where the path thins into suggestion before disappearing into trees. Inside, the air smells faintly of dried herbs. Bundles hang from a bean yarrow, sage, plantain. A kettle cold on the stove. A single chair. A bed pushed against the far wall. Nothing unnecessary. Nothing rooted. She sets her basket down and begins sorting the herbs she collected the day before. Her hands are steady. But her attention drifts. A pause between movements that lasts a fraction too long. A slight tilt of her head, as if catching something just beyond reach. The scent comes first. Rain. Pine. And something metallic threading through it. Blood. Her jaw tightens. Too far. Too faint. Not hers to follow. She turns back to the table, forcing her hands to move again. Stay alone. The rule settles into place, familiar as breath. Leave before attachment. It has kept her alive. It has kept others safe. Her fingers pause. The sensation returns stronger now. Present. He's human, she murmurs under her breath. Humans have ways. Roads. Voices. Help. Not her. She crosses the room. Stops at the door. Her hand rests lightly against the wood. Another inhale. Blood. Human. Close. Her eyes close briefly. 3 years of distance. Of discipline. Of choosing not to turn when something calls. 3 years of surviving by not interfering. She should stay. She knows exactly what happens when she doesn't. The memory is not loud. It doesn't need to be. A child's cry. Metal jaws. A choice that cost her everything. Her eyes open. Amber, sharp, alive with something she has spent years holding back. Not mine, she says again, quieter this time. But her body has already decided. Her hand drops from the door. She steps outside. She turns toward the trees. Toward the break in the forest's rhythm. Toward the place where something is wrong. Her feet move before she gives the order. Silent. Certain. And doesn't look back. The cabin sits just beyond where the village stops pretending it has edges. Past the last fence post. Past the narrow trail that bends and forgets itself. Set slightly into a clearing that wasn't there until someone made it be. Elliot built it by hand. Every beam cut, carried, set into place with the kind of patience that doesn't come from skill alone but from needing something to hold still while everything else didn't. Inside, a single window lets in muted daylight. He's at the workbench. Sleeves rolled to his forearms. Sawdust settled into the weave of his worn green shirt. His hands are steady, broad, marked by small, pale scars that catch the light when he turns his wrist. The blade moves carefully along the curve of the wood. Not fast. Never fast. He doesn't rush the grain. The chair is nearly finished. A rocking chair. The left armrest curves slightly sharper than the right. He notices it without needing to measure. Too tight, he murmurs, more to the wood than to himself. The sound of his voice sits low in the room, unused to being heard. Outside, the forest shifts. Not consciously at first. Just a subtle change in pressure. The smell of damp threading through the usual green. Rain. Soon. He steps outside. The sky has lowered. Clouds gathering in thick layers, pressing the light into something dimmer, flatter. His gaze drifts toward a photograph leaning against the far wall. He doesn't look at it directly. Doesn't need to. 3 people standing too close together to be anything but family. The ease of bodies that haven't learned distance yet. He swallows once. Works the oil deeper into the grain. Almost done, he says quietly. The words aren't for anyone here. The wind answers anyway. A hollow sound moves through the trees, low and uneven. The kind that travels through wood before it ever reaches the air. Elliot stills. Listens. He steps outside once more. The old pine stands just beyond the clearing, its trunk thick, one limb stretching out at an angle that doesn't quite make sense, too heavy on one side, the wood darkened where rot has begun to take hold. He's noticed it before. More than once. Thought about cutting it down. Just never did. There's always something else first, he mutters. The wind presses through the trees again, stronger. The limb shifts slightly. Not enough to fall. Just enough to remind him it can. He turns away. Back toward the workshop. Back toward the chair. Then a deep, internal crack splits the air. The limb tears free. It drops, catches, twists, changing direction midair in a way that feels almost deliberate. There's no time to move. Impact comes from the side. Hard. Violent. It catches his right leg, drives him down into the mud. The world tilts. Sound collapses. Then. Pain. Immediate and consuming. His hands hit the ground first. His leg doesn't respond when he tries to pull it free. The branch lies across it, heavy, unmoving. Rain soaks through him within seconds. He pushes against the wood. It doesn't give. Not even slightly. The forest doesn't react. Just rain. Just breath. Just the steady, creeping realization that this is different. Not controlled. Not chosen. He shifts his weight, forcing strength into his arms, lifting with everything he has. For a moment it moves. Barely. Hope flashes sharp and fast. Then his strength gives. The branch slams back down. The sound it makes is final. Something in his chest follows it. He closes his eyes for half a second. Just half. The sky above is darker now. The edges of his vision pulse. He focuses on breathing. Stay, he murmurs, voice rough, barely there. The forest presses in around him. And somewhere beyond the reach of his failing awareness, something is already moving toward him. Fast. Silent. Unseen. The forest doesn't slow her. It parts. Rain slicks through silver-gray fur, flattening it in places, darkening it in others. The scent is stronger now. No longer faint. Blood. Fresh. Human. Her pace increases without her deciding it should. Silent. Precise. Fast enough that the wind begins to thread past her ears in a low, steady rush. Her eyes amber, unblinking, cut through the dimness between trees. There. The forest changes before she sees him. A disturbance. A wrongness. The rhythm of the wild broken by something that doesn't belong to it. She slows. The smell hits her fully now. Iron. Wet earth. Rain. And underneath. Him. Not a scent she knows, but one that settles into her senses with unsettling clarity, as if it has always had a place waiting. She steps into the clearing and sees him. Pinned. The branch lies across his leg at an angle that doesn't allow for survival without help. Blood spreads beneath him, diluted by rain but not erased by it. His chest rises. Uneven. Fading. Alive. Selene stops. Completely. The world narrows to the choice. Stay alone. The rule doesn't come as words this time. It comes as instinct. As memory burned deep enough that it no longer needs language. She knows this moment. Not this man. But this moment. The edge between intervention and consequence. Her weight shifts back. Turning away is easy. It always has been. The forest welcomes her retreat without question. 3 steps. 4. The scent lingers. Not fading. Not allowing distance to dull it. A sound barely there. Not a call. Not a word. Just breath catching wrong. She stops. Still facing away. Rain threads through the silence between heartbeats. This is how it stays contained. This is how she survives. Her body refuses the next step. Not hesitation. Refusal. She turns. Sharp. Decisive. Back toward him. The distance closes faster this time. She reaches him and circles once quick, assessing. The branch. The angle. The blood. His pulse, she can hear it, even now. Slipping. Struggling. Alive. For now. She shifts. The change is not gentle. Bone pulls. Muscle contracts. The shape of her body redefines itself with quiet violence beneath the rain. Fur recedes. Skin replaces it. Breath sharpens into something thinner, more fragile. Human. Selene drops to her knees beside him. Up close, he looks worse. Paler. Lips tinged with something too close to blue. She grips the branch. Fingers curl into wet bark. She lifts. The strain shows, but not where it should. There's something beneath it, controlled, contained, forced into silence for too long now, finding just enough space to exist. The branch rises. Enough. She drags it aside. Her hands move quickly now, stripping fabric from the edge of her dress, pressing it firmly against the wound. Pressure. Angle. Adjustment. Stay with it, she murmurs, voice low, steady. Don't fight it. His breath stutters. In. Out. Her other hand moves to his wrist. Pulse. Still there. Fading. Not yet, she says, softer. Not to him. Not entirely. To the line she's already crossed. His head turns slightly. His lashes flutter. And then he looks at her. Not fully. Not clearly. But enough. Confusion flickers there. Then something softer. Something that doesn't belong in a moment like this. His lips part. Angel. Selene freezes. Not her hands. They continue. Steady. Precise. But everything else still. She is not that. Not anything close. You're bleeding, she says, quieter. Stay awake. His gaze lingers on her. Then it slips. Lids falling. No, the word escapes before she can stop it. Her hand shifts to his shoulder, firm. Stay. You don't get to leave yet. His response is a shallow breath. She adjusts the pressure one last time. Then moves. One arm beneath his shoulders. The other carefully positioned around his leg. She lifts. The weight should be too much. It isn't. Not entirely. But it costs her. The restraint she's held for years strains against the edges of what she's allowing. She stands. Rain running down both of them now, blending scent and heat and something far more dangerous than either. Each step deliberate. Toward the edge of the clearing. Toward the path that leads away from everything she should have left untouched. His head rests against her shoulder. His breath faint as it is brushes her neck. Warm. Human. Alive because she chose it. Her grip tightens slightly. Not from strain. From awareness. The cabin appears through the trees. She pushes the door open with her shoulder. Inside, the air shifts immediately warmer. Filled with him. Wood. Oil. Something quiet and steady beneath it all. She crosses the threshold. And stops. Just for a second. This is where she leaves. Gets him inside. Keeps him alive. Walks away before anything else can take root. Her gaze drops to his face. Pale. Unconscious. Breathing because of her. Her jaw tightens. Then she moves deeper inside. Sets him carefully onto the bed. Her hands don't linger. They shouldn't. But they don't pull away immediately either. Her fingers hover just above his skin. Feeling the heat. The life. The risk. A breath. In. Out. Then she steps back. The rain continues outside. The forest waits. Her rule broken. Completely. She looks toward the door. Then back at him. And stays. Morning comes quietly. Not with light but with the slow lifting of darkness into something softer. The rain has stopped. What remains is the aftermath, water dripping steadily from the eaves, the muted scent of soaked earth pressing in through the cracks in the wood. Elliot wakes to the warmth. Not the pain. Not yet. His breath shifts deeper, slower as awareness returns. The ceiling. Wood grain above him. Uneven. Real. Inside. Alive. The pain comes next. Threading through him gradually, settling into his leg with a dull, heavy presence. Not sharp. Not blinding. Contained. Managed. He inhales. Something else. Faint. Clean. Wild, but not the forest. His eyes open. The room comes into focus in pieces. And then her. She's near the window. Standing. Still in a way that feels deliberate. The light catches her profile, the soft curve of her cheek, the loose fall of dark chestnut waves, still slightly damp. The cream fabric of her dress dried unevenly, faint marks where rain once clung. She doesn't turn immediately. But she knows he's awake. You stayed. His voice is rough from disuse. Observing. Selene's gaze shifts. Yes. Nothing added. Nothing explained. He glances at his leg. Clean cloth. Tight, precise. Not the hurried work of panic. Something measured. Intentional. You stopped the bleeding. Yes. His gaze lingers on her for a moment longer than necessary. Then moves to her hands. Faint marks along her fingers, subtle, easy to miss. Not delicate. Not untouched. Used. You carried me. Her stillness deepens. I moved you. The correction is quiet. Controlled. But not entirely dismissive. He exhales slowly. Accepts it. His hand shifts, pressing against the edge of the bed as he tries to adjust his position. Pain spikes. His breath catches. She's beside him before the second breath comes. Too fast. Too quiet. Her hand reaches his shoulder, firm but not forceful. Don't. He stills. Not because he has to. Because he chooses to. Their proximity changes something. You move like you're listening to something I can't hear. The first thing he said that isn't practical. About her. Selene's fingers tighten slightly against his shoulder. Then release. I hear enough. Not an answer. But not nothing either. He lets it go. His hand shifts again, reaching. Not far. Just enough. It brushes against hers. Accidental. But not entirely. Her hand is warm. Warmer than it should be. Calluses along her palm, not from the kind of work the village would expect from her. She withdraws first. Not abruptly. Deliberately. The contact ends before it becomes something else. You don't talk much, he says. Neither do you. No edge. Just fact. A faint shift touches his expression. Not quite a smile. Close. Fair. He looks around the room, then back to her. Settling. Choosing. You can leave. The words come quietly. No pressure. No expectation. I'll be fine. Selene watches him. The steadiness. The absence of panic. The way he doesn't reach for more than he's been given. It unsettles her more than questions would have. Because it removes the reason to go. Her rule doesn't account for this. For someone who doesn't demand. Doesn't pull. Doesn't force her into distance. Her gaze shifts briefly to the door. Then back to him. The instinct to leave rises. Familiar. Sharp. Safe. She doesn't move. He doesn't fill the silence. Doesn't take it from her. Just lets it be what it is. Selene exhales slowly. Then she turns away from the door. I know. The words are quiet. Almost lost in the space between them. She moves to the table, reaches for the cloth she used earlier, adjusting it between her fingers as if it needs attention. It doesn't. The choice has already been made. Again. She stays. Time doesn't pass loudly in the cabin. It settles. In small shifts. In quiet adjustments. In the way pain dulls at the edges before it disappears from the center. By the third morning, Elliot can sit without bracing for it. By the fifth, he stands once just to see if he can. He doesn't try again after that. Not because he can't. Because he knows better. Selene notices. She notices everything. The fire becomes routine. She builds it each morning before the light fully reaches the window. The rhythm is efficient now, wood placed with precision, flame coaxed into life with careful breath. Elliot watches her the first time. Not obviously. From the edge of half-waking. Her movements are exact. No wasted motion. As if she learned this somewhere that didn't allow mistakes. She cooks simply. Whatever he has. Whatever she can find. Roots. Herbs. Broth stretched thin but made warmer by the way she prepares it. The first time she hands him a bowl, their fingers brush. Not accidental this time. Not entirely. He takes the bowl. Thank you. She nods. But she doesn't pull away as quickly as before. By the sixth day, he moves to the chair. The unfinished rocking chair sits where he left it. He looks at it for a long moment before reaching for the tools again. Selene is by the window. Sorting herbs. Always the same quiet focus. But her attention shifts to him. He doesn't comment. Just picks up the blade. Tests the edge with his thumb. Then begins. The sound of careful metal against wood fills the space between them without demanding anything from it. Selene's hands slow. Then stop. You hold it wrong. The words come before she can stop them. Elliot pauses. Not offended. Not surprised. Just curious. Do I? She steps closer. Carefully. As if approaching something that might break. Your grip. It's too tight. He shifts the blade slightly. Show me. No challenge. No expectation. Selene hesitates. Brief. But real. Then she moves close enough to reach him without stretching. Her hand hovers near his. Not touching. Not yet. Loosen it, she murmurs. He does. Immediately. Trusting the instruction without question. Her fingers close over his. Guiding the angle. Adjusting the pressure. His skin is warm. Solid. Grounded in a way that feels unfamiliar. Her breath stills for half a second. Like this, she says. Softer. He doesn't look at the blade. He looks at her. Not directly. But enough. She releases him. Slower than necessary. He draws the blade again. This time smoother. More controlled. A thin curl of wood falls away. A sound escapes her. Soft. Barely there. A breath that almost becomes a laugh before it fully decides to exist. She stills immediately after. As if it wasn't meant to happen. Elliot looks up. No reaction that would make her retreat. I'll take that as approval, he says. Her gaze shifts away. But not quickly. Don't ruin it. The closest thing to lightness she's offered. By the 10th day, the silence between them feels different. Not just shared. Chosen. That's when he asks. He's shaping the final curve of the chair. She's watching again. You don't stay anywhere, he says. Not looking at her. The blade continues its steady movement. She doesn't answer. Not immediately. Then what are you running from? The words are gentle. Careful. But they land. Selene stills. Something beneath her surface tightens. The forest outside seems louder for a moment. Her voice, when it comes, is steady. Nothing. The lie is clean. Practiced. Too easy. But it costs her more this time. He nods once. Accepts it outwardly. The blade moves again. Something has changed. Not broken. Not exposed. Just seen. Selene turns toward the window. Her reflection catches faintly in the glass. For a moment she doesn't recognize it. Not because it's unfamiliar. But because it's staying. And that is the most dangerous thing of all. The change begins before the moon rises. Selene feels it in fragments. Not pain. Not yet. Just a quiet disruption beneath her skin, something shifting out of alignment, pressing against boundaries it has respected for too long. By late afternoon, the cabin feels smaller. She paces. Not constantly. Just more than usual. From the window to the door. From the door to the table. Elliot notices. He works. Or pretends to. The blade in his hand hasn't touched the wood in several minutes. You're wearing a path into the floor, he says eventually. Selene stops. I'm fine. It comes too quickly. Too flat. The silence that follows is observant. She presses her fingers against the edge of the table. Grounding. The scent outside is changing. Night approaching. And beneath it that pull. Stronger now. You should rest, she says, without turning. You've been on your leg too long. Deflection. He hears it, but lets it pass. She turns. Her eyes meet his. For a moment too much shows. Not fear. Something close enough that it doesn't belong on her face. I need to go into the forest tonight. No explanation. No apology. Just truth. For how long? Until morning. His gaze holds hers a second longer. Then he nods once. All right. No argument. No warning. No attempt to stop her. Something in her chest tightens unexpectedly. She moves toward the door. Her hand pauses briefly on the wood. Then she leaves. The forest takes her immediately. The moment her feet touch the earth beyond the cabin, the restraint she's been holding begins to thin. Her breath sharpens. Her senses stretch outward, pulling everything in at once. She moves deeper. Faster. The distance between her and the cabin grows, but it doesn't feel like enough. It never does. Back inside, Elliot waits. He knows, somewhere in the quiet of it, that whatever she needs in the forest, it's hers. Not his. He stands anyway. Opens the door. The night air meets him, cooler now, carrying the scent of everything she's already disturbed. He listens. At first nothing. Then a sound. Faint. Not quite human. Not quite anything he can place. His body reacts before his mind catches up. Not fear. Awareness. He steps forward. Into the forest. Each step measured by the limitations of his still healing leg. But he doesn't stop. The sounds narrow. Focus. Until there. Movement. Ahead. He reaches the edge of a clearing. Stops. And sees her. But not as he knows her. Selene stands at the center. Still. Head slightly bowed. Her breathing is different. Deeper. Strained at the edges. Then her body shifts. Subtly at first. Then not subtle at all. She drops to her knees. A sharp exhale leaves her. Her hands press into the earth. Fingers splay. Grip. Her spine arches. Too far. Too sharp. A sound tears from her throat low, strained, something caught between pain and something far more dangerous. Elliot's breath stills. His mind tries to make sense of what he's seeing. Fails. Her shoulders shift, bones realigning beneath skin. The line of her body breaks and reforms. Fur begins to thread through skin. Not all at once. But enough. Enough to erase doubt. He takes a step back. Not loudly. Just enough to ground himself in something real. She lifts her head. Eyes not human. Amber. Burning through the dim light. For a second he thinks she sees him. But her gaze shifts past him. Through him. Focused on something deeper in the forest. Her body completes the change in a final, violent shift. A wolf stands where she had been. Silver gray. Breathing hard. Alive in a way that feels uncontained. Elliot doesn't move. Doesn't run. Doesn't speak. He watches. The wolf lifts its head slightly. Scenting. Listening. The same way she does. The same way she always has. Recognition settles. Not as a thought. As something quieter. Something that doesn't need to be spoken. The wolf turns. Moves. Disappears into the trees. Leaving the clearing empty. Except for him. Elliot stands there a moment longer. The world not quite what it was before. His breath returns slowly. Steady. Controlled. No panic. No denial. Just change. He turns. Begins the slow walk back to the cabin. The knowledge settles with each step. Heavy. Real. And strangely not frightening. Morning doesn't arrive gently. It presses in. Elliot is already outside. Not pacing. Not restless. Just there. Leaning against the edge of the cabin, careful of his leg, watching the forest. He hasn't slept. Selene feels the cabin before she sees it. The pull toward it is quieter than the one that dragged her into the forest, but it's there. Persistent. Unwanted. Her steps slow as she nears the clearing. The shift back had come before dawn. Less violent. Still not gentle. She should leave. The thought is immediate. Clean. Necessary. She crossed too many lines already. Her jaw tightens. She steps forward anyway. The cabin comes into view. And he's there. Not inside. Not unaware. Waiting. Selene stops. The distance between them isn't far. But it feels exposed. His posture doesn't change when he sees her. Doesn't shift into threat or retreat. Just straightens slightly. Meets her gaze. There's something different in it now. Not confusion. Not suspicion. Clarity. Selene feels it land before he speaks. Her fingers curl slightly at her sides. She doesn't move closer. Doesn't step back. Just stands there. Waiting for the impact. It comes simply. I saw you. No weight added. No accusation. No demand. The words fall between them and settle. Final. Selene doesn't answer. The truth is already there. Exposed. Her gaze doesn't break from his. She watches him the way something wild watches a threat it hasn't decided how to face. Fear would make sense. Rejection expected. Violence she knows that one best. The moment when understanding turns sharp. When people see what she is and decide what that means. Her breath slows. Not to calm herself. To control what comes after. If she needs to move, she will. Fast enough. Far enough. Elliot watches her. Really watches her. Not the surface. Not the stillness she holds so tightly. But what moves beneath it. The tension. The readiness. The distance she's already creating. His chest tightens. Not from fear. From recognition. He's seen this before. Not in her. In himself. The instinct to leave before anything can be taken. Before anything can be broken. He exhales slowly. I won't tell anyone. Selene stills. Not the controlled stillness she chooses. Something deeper. Immediate. Unprepared. Her breath catches. Small. But real. As if the ground beneath her has shifted and she hasn't decided how to stand on it yet. He doesn't move closer. Gives her space to decide. You don't owe me that, she says finally. Steady. But thinner than before. I know. No hesitation. No argument. Just truth. Something tightens in her chest. Worse than fear. Her gaze sharpens. Searching him. For the part she missed. For the explanation of why. You should be afraid. Not a warning. Confusion. Elliot considers that. Not dismissing it. Maybe. A pause. I'm not. She studies him. Looking for cracks. For the lie. For the moment instinct takes over and proves her right. It doesn't come. You don't understand what you saw. That's probably true. The agreement disarms more than denial would have. You should still leave, she says, sharper now. Go back to the village. Forget this. Forget me. This she knows how to do. Push. Create distance. End it before it deepens. Elliot shifts his weight. Then looks at her again. Steady. Measured. You stayed. The words are quiet. But they land. Selene's breath stills. You didn't have to, he continues. But you did. A beat. I'm doing the same. The simplicity of it cuts deeper than anything else he said. No grand reasoning. No attempt to define what she is. Just choice. You don't know what that costs, she says. Something raw beneath it now. Maybe not, he says. But I know what leaving does. That lands. Clean. Direct. For a moment neither of them moves. Selene exhales slowly. Her shoulders shift. Not relaxing. But not as rigid as before. Her voice, when it comes, is quieter. You should go inside. Your leg. I will. He doesn't move. Not until she does. Selene hesitates. Just for a second. Then she steps forward. Closing part of the distance. Not all of it. But enough. Enough to say she hasn't left. And neither has he. The space between them doesn't close all at once. It shifts. Subtle. Measured. Selene steps past him, toward the cabin door, her shoulder brushing the air just beside his arm. Close but not touching. The awareness of him lingers anyway. Inside, she says quietly. Elliot follows without question. The cabin feels different now. Smaller. Not because of the walls. Because of what's inside them. Truth sits in the space between them unspoken, but no longer avoidable. Selene moves to the far side of the room. Her hands find the edge of the table, fingers curling lightly against the wood. Grounding. Containment. Elliot leans against the wall, giving her space without stepping away completely. Waiting. Not for answers. For her. Selene exhales slowly. Once. Then again. I wasn't always alone. The words settle carefully. There were others, she continues. Like me. A pause. A pack. The word sits differently in her mouth. Not pride. Not comfort. Memory. We didn't live near villages. We stayed deeper. Moved when we needed to. We had rules. Her jaw tightens. I broke one. The admission lands heavier than anything before it. It wasn't sudden, she says. It never is. There are moments when it's easy to forget where the line is. When instinct feels clearer than thought. Cleaner. Her voice drops. Right. A beat. Her eyes darken in memory. I trusted that feeling once. Elliot doesn't move. Doesn't break it. To them, that was enough. Her fingers loosen. Then tighten again. I didn't lose control. That's the part they couldn't accept. A flicker passes through her expression. Not quite anger. Not quite pain. I chose wrong. The words are sharper than anything she's said. More precise. They said if I could choose that once, I could choose it again. A pause. They were right. The admission doesn't come easily. But it comes. And I won't wait for the moment I prove it. Selene's breath slows deliberately. That's why I leave. Before anything settles. Before anyone starts to matter enough to make that choice harder. Her gaze lifts. Finds him fully. No distance left in it. No deflection. I don't always know which part of me is stronger. The words break on the way out. Not loudly. Not visibly. But something in her voice fractures just enough to make it real. Silence follows. Open. Her shoulders shift. The control she's been holding begins to slip not into something wild. Into something vulnerable. Worse. Her fingers loosen from the table. Then fall to her sides. Elliot crosses the space between them. Not fast. Not hesitant. Certain. He stops just close enough that she can feel him there. That she can choose. Selene doesn't step back. That's all it takes. His hand lifts, pauses briefly near her arm, then settles. Warm, steady, real. The contact isn't forceful. It doesn't try to hold her in place. It just exists. Her breath catches. The awareness of him shifts everything. Not the danger. Not the risk. Just the weight of not being alone in it. His other hand moves, slower, until it rests lightly at her back. Not pulling. Not claiming. Just there. Supporting something she didn't realize had started to lean. Selene's control breaks in the smallest way possible. Her forehead lowers. Just enough to brush against his chest. She stills there. Every instinct flaring at once. Run. Pull back. Fix it. She doesn't. His hand doesn't tighten. Doesn't change. He lets her decide the distance. Seconds pass. Her hand lifts. Slow. Uncertain. Until her fingers catch lightly in the fabric of his shirt. The contact is barely there. But it's enough. Elliot exhales softly. Not relief. Something quieter. Something that understands exactly how much that costs. You're still choosing, he says. The words are low. Close. Not meant to carry far. Selene's eyes close briefly. I don't know if that's enough, she whispers. He doesn't hesitate. It is right now. No promise. No certainty beyond the moment. Just truth. Her grip tightens slightly. Then steadies. The space between them holds. Not safe. Not simple. But real. And for the first time she doesn't pull away from it. The cabin settles around them again. Not back to what it was. Something quieter. Changed in ways that don't announce themselves but remain. Selene is the first to step back. Not abruptly. Not as retreat. Just enough to breathe without feeling the shape of him against every thought. Her hand loosens in his shirt. Slowly. Carefully. Like letting go of something that might disappear if she moves too fast. Elliot lets her. His hands fall away just as easily. No resistance. No attempt to hold what she hasn't offered to keep. The space returns. But it isn't empty. It carries everything that just happened. The fire has burned lower. Selene moves toward it. Her hands adjust the wood, coaxing the heat back into something steady. Elliot watches from where he stands. Not studying her. Just there. Present in the same space. The same moment. The silence doesn't press. It settles. Selene sits eventually. Not across the room. Not near the door. Closer. Not close enough to touch. But close enough to feel. Elliot lowers himself into the chair opposite her. Careful of his leg. You shouldn't be standing that long, she says quietly. The words land differently now. Less like deflection. More like care. I'll sit. Already doing it. A faint shift touches her expression. Not quite a smile, but something that remembers how time moves. Softly, measured in the crackle of wood and the occasional brush of wind against the cabin walls. Selene doesn't look at the door. Not once. The forest is still there. Waiting. It always will be. But it doesn't pull the same way now. Or maybe it does. And she doesn't answer. Elliot leans back slightly in the chair. His gaze drifts to her, then away, then back again. "You're staying," he says after a while. Not a question. Selene's fingers rest lightly against her knee. Yes. The word is quiet. But it holds. He nods once. Accepts it the same way he's accepted everything else. "That's enough," he says. And it is. Not forever. Not fixed. But real. Now. Selene exhales slowly. Something in her chest loosens just a fraction. Enough to notice. Enough to matter. The moment stretches. Elliot shifts slightly, leaning forward. Not closing the distance yet. But considering it. Selene feels it. The change in air. The subtle shift in attention. Her body responds before her thoughts fully catch up. Not pulling away. Not bracing. Just aware. He pauses. Long enough to give her time. To let her decide. She doesn't move. Doesn't look away. That's the answer. Elliot closes the distance slowly. No sudden movement. No urgency. Just a quiet intention that never once feels like it will take more than she allows. He stops just short. Close enough that her breath brushes his. Selene's gaze drops briefly to his mouth, then lifts again. A flicker. Gone almost immediately. But not unnoticed. Her pulse shifts. Faster. Not from fear. From something far less predictable. Elliot waits. Still. Patient in a way that doesn't feel practiced. Just natural. Selene inhales once. Slow. Then. She closes the distance. The kiss is light. Barely there at first. A question more than an answer. His response is just as careful. Just as restrained. No pressure. No claim. Only presence. Their lips meet again, slightly more certain this time. Still gentle. Still grounded. The world doesn't fall away. The forest doesn't disappear. Everything that makes this dangerous remains. But so does this. And for once that's enough. Selene pulls back first. Not far. Just enough to look at him. Really look. No distance left in it now. No mask. Just her. And the choice she's making in real time. Elliot doesn't reach for her again. Lets it settle where it is. Between them. Shared. Unforced. Her breath steadies. The edge she's carried for years doesn't disappear. But it shifts. Less sharp. less alone. The fire warms the space between them. The cabin holds it. Quiet. Steady. Outside, the forest waits. It always will. But for the first time, she doesn't feel like she's standing on the edge of it. Ready to run. She had spent years running from being known. And found it, finally, by staying.